I'm outside now. I just have you set up on a trellis. Isn't that so cool? It's a little magnetic GoPro thing. And I'm setting up my 2 tripods before I get started. So usually this is what takes me a while. If I wasn't doing this, I would just come out here and start working. But I have to get all my gear ready so that I can get all the right shots and stuff. This is a new tripod that I bought recently. This one was a huge investment. Usually I only spend about 20, 30, I think 40 bucks is probably the most I've spent on a tripod. This one was over 100. But this was an Amazon Basics. I used this for many years. It works well, but it's made out of aluminum and it gets knocked over easily. This one is from Neewer. It's the N284L Plus Go. I'll link it. This one gets really tall and I like that because I get a better view of the whole garden. And I also like this one because now that I'm filming a lot more like cooking stuff too, it makes it easier for me to do overhead shots because it has the extension thing. But when I'm outside in the garden, I don't really use the extension as much. I mostly just use it for the height. And because it's so sturdy, even if it gets windy, it doesn't get knocked over. Okay, so look, this is what it looks like just with the legs opened up. This is how tall this one gets just with the legs opened up. See the difference in height? And then if I ever wanted to make this one taller, I would go like this, and then that's as tall as it got. This one I can make, oh, let me see. This one I can make this tall. It's like way up here. And then whenever I'm cooking, I can do this. I don't know why I'm showing all of this to you guys. I usually just don't include this part, but it can go like this. So it's amazing. I love this thing. So anyways, the only thing is whenever I make it too tall, I have to use a ladder to be able to go up there and make sure that it's angled properly. Otherwise I can't see. But okay, I'm ready. And then this is something that I have on all of my tripods, and I have it on my GoPro as well, except for right now because it has another attachment. But I like using these. It's from the brand Ulanzi. This is the thing that I have right here, the phone adapter, and I can move it to make it like a vertical video or make it a horizontal video, and then I can tighten it. But I also have these thingies down here. I don't know how to describe it, but it's these little square things. I have it all linked because I don't remember what they're called, but they're from the same brand, and it just makes it easy for me to switch over from tripod to tripod. I lock it in, and then if I want to switch it from this tripod to my other one, I go like this and I move it. And then just so you know, this tripod, I bought this extra piece for it. So this is what the tripod looks like. I bought this extra thing to be able to swivel around, and it makes it just way easier for me so I don't have to move the tripod quite as much. But anyways, I have everything linked. I'm just gonna get started now because I'm gonna drop everything. Okay, everything should still be fine, right? Okay, yeah, it's still recording. Oh my god, this stuff is not cheap, so it sucks whenever I drop it. Okay, now let's get started with gardening. The first thing I'm gonna work on is gonna be getting these roses back into shape. They're really wild right now. Like the canes are reaching 8 feet tall, but they're about a little bit over a foot off the ground. But yeah, so they're about 7-8 feet tall right now because they're already touching the top of the structure, which is 10 feet tall. These are the Don Juan variety, and I'm gonna start tying them back so that they can fill out the arch trellis a little bit better. So for this, I'm going to use my pruners and my rose gloves because they have thorns. Okay. Here they are. I keep them indoors because I'm paranoid that if I leave them outside, spiders will crawl into them. And sometime last year, I think, I got bitten on the stomach by a spider, and it was really painful, and now I'm kind of paranoid of them being in stuff. So for this, I'm gonna need my ladder, and I'm also gonna need pruners and scissors to be able to tie them back. The roses already started blooming, so I just wanna, I just wanna clean them up a little bit. And they're starting to push out some really beautiful canes. Okay. I don't necessarily have like a plan in mind right now. I'm just gonna start pruning off any parts that are super old, super tangled, and like smaller pieces like this, just so that I can get a fresh start. You see? There's a lot of shoots that look really nice, but there's also some pieces that are kind of just crossing, so I want to get rid of those. Oh, you want to see it from my point of view? Hold on. I've got you. Time to put this baby to work. Oh, whoops. Hold on. I don't want to mess with my mic too much. Okay. Okay. Okay, there. That way I can show you from my point of view. So let me put my gloves back on first. This is what you got to do when you're your own camera person. And I'm just hoping that I don't mess with the audio of the mic too much. I don't know about you, but I make mistakes all of the time in the garden. And I feel like mistakes suck whenever we make them, but it's a great learning opportunity because I feel like whenever I make huge mistakes, I rarely ever make that mistake again because I definitely learned my lesson. But when it comes to climbing roses, I hadn't done it in so long. I mean, I prune them once in a while, but actually shaping them and doing a hard prune, I rarely ever do because the roses took forever to just fill out in the first place. So I'm just letting you know that before you watch the next few clips or like the rest of this video, looking back now, I'm like, oh, I realized I had messed up right after I pruned them. There was like this part of me that it was like the gardening spidey sense where I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like did I do something wrong? Why do I feel like I'm missing a step or like I messed up a step? And I remember going online and I was like, okay, you know what? I should just look up how to prune climbing roses. So I looked up a few videos, most of which I should have watched before just to get a refresher. And honestly, that's one of the biggest tips that I give you guys. Even if you've done it time and time and time again, it's always good to just refresh your memory just to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes that I did. For example, what you're about to see next is me pruning off a whole bunch of lateral canes. In my head, I was just focused on the main canes. I was like, okay, I know exactly what type of main canes I'm looking for. These roses have finally started establishing themselves and they're growing, but a lot of the canes are kind of spindly. So it wasn't bad that I pruned them back, but I shouldn't have pruned them back so drastically. I feel like looking back now, I would have just left a couple of nodes. That way the whole trellis could have filled out evenly. But instead, I basically sheared off the bottom portions and then the top got nice and full, but the bottom portions were naked for so long. And thankfully, eventually they did fill out again. But I just want to give you a heads up because I don't want this to come off as a how-to video, because this is definitely not a how-to. It's a how not to prune climbing roses if you want to maintain those blooms. Now, I will say that the roses did bounce back. They did, I mean, in a way, it kind of worked out, because now that they didn't have all of these lateral canes, which honestly, they didn't have way too many of them. They were kind of sparse, but it almost encouraged them to push out a bunch of new ones. So in the end, I did wind up with nicer, fuller climbing roses towards the bottom of the trellis, which is something that I wanted to achieve, but it did take a little bit longer because of the fact that I pruned them in a way that I shouldn't have. But I do want to let you know that after that, I made sure never to prune another climbing rose the same way, because I understood the fact that I completely blinked out on the fact that I needed to keep my lateral canes. And honestly, one channel that I feel like you might really like or appreciate for showing how to prune climbing roses is Garden Answer. I feel like watching Laura prune the entrance to her is it the vegetable garden? There's like an entrance, and she has, I think it's like the Colette roses, something like that. But I watched some of her videos on, well, specifically on that, because let me tell you, I can watch every single one of her videos. She's amazing at what she does, and she's one of the biggest inspirations. Anyways, I'm getting off topic because I just love her channel so much. But watching her prune her climbing roses definitely made me realize what I had done wrong. I'm a very visual learner. So if I hear somebody saying to do it a certain way, I don't know what they're saying. The words are coming into my brain, but my brain is like on standby mode. But if I watch somebody do something, that definitely helps me to figure out how to do it myself. But even though that helps me learn a little bit, what helps me learn the most is honestly just going outside and doing it myself, even if I mess up, because at least that's experience. I know that I'm rambling. Maybe that's because I'm trying to procrastinate on showing you the rest of the footage, mostly because, man, I feel like it's still a little bit difficult to watch, because every time I watch myself prune off one of those lateral canes in my head, I'm like, no, don't do that. Leave some. If I wanted blooms, just leave some. But at the end of the day, I made the mistake that I made, and my roses still survived, and they still produced a ton of blooms, just not in the shape that I wanted them to produce the blooms. And I learned what not to do. So I just want to give you that disclaimer before you watch, because it's haunted me for so long, for so long. And I wanted to edit and share this diary entry, but what's held me back is not being able to look at the footage of this day. Because in my head, I already know that I'm messing up the entire time. And it's hard. It's hard to look back at yourself making mistakes and just having to watch and knowing that there's nothing that you can do about it because it already happened. But at least I know that I can make sure I don't make the same mistake moving forward. So with that said, here is me pruning my Don Juan climbing roses the wrong way. This one looks so much better. I'm kind of intimidated by this side, but we'll get to it. Oh, there's a few blooms on here, but that's okay. They had to go. We'll get better blooms soon. Look at these. Okay, and then these I can start training. But see, like this cane, for example, it looks all right. It's not the biggest cane, it's not the healthiest cane, so it could just go. You could just leave. Oh, and then you can see some more canes shooting out from the base of the roses, like this one right here. But as you can see, this one's not very thick at all, so we'll get rid of that one too. I really just want to start to keep the nicest, biggest canes. And then you can see some of them getting all tangled up like this one. But look, if you look at the top of it, it's very messy. Okay. And then out of these two, I'm gonna get rid of this. Because I really don't want any canes to be crossing. Okay. And then these canes, even though it looks like the rose bush is over off to one side, I can always just tie the canes however I want to get them to the correct form. Okay, this one right here has a lot of really thin pieces, and this one's also starting to get tangled up with the one next to it, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Like, look at this cane. It's super gnarly, super old, and you can see here whenever they rub together, this is what tends to happen. They keep rubbing and they keep messing up the canes, and you can see it happening all the way down. So that's why it's important to not have them like crossing each other too much. Okay, so now I can start to move this one over here. Okay, so I think I've done all that I can down here. Oh my gosh, look at this stem, it's so long. But these were starting to get powdery mildew, and some roses also just get powdery mildew depending on the time of the year, but look how pretty that is. Oh my gosh, it's so bald, but it's not gonna be this way forever. And I have my little bouquet right here. I'm gonna go stick them in a mason jar real quick. I usually don't like cutting my roses because it makes me feel bad. I like for them to live for as long as possible. But right now, since I'm pruning them, I'm just gonna go ahead and trim some of them down so I can hold on to them indoors. And then that way I won't feel so bad about pruning the stems down as much as I need to. Okay, let me go put these in water real quick. Oh my God. I'm back, baby. Now I'm gonna get started on the tops. This part should be a little bit easier, I hope. But I'm gonna do the same exact thing. If I see any dead pieces, I'm gonna trim those off, or any spent blooms. I'm gonna go ahead and just prune those off real quick. Spent blooms means blooms that, like rose blooms that have already bloomed once and then they dried up, and then you're left with the rose hip, which is kind of like a seed, right? Is a rose hip like a seed? I think so, but don't quote me on that. Okay, so let me see here. Oh, and this is when I start detangling stuff and moving it over so that I can get the right shape for the trellis. So for example, I want these to fan out over this way, but I have them tied right here, so I need to untie them in certain places. And I can always just reuse the same string if it's long enough, which in this case I think it is. And I'll just grab them, fan them over, strangle the rose. What is it called? The rose cane. Okay. Whenever I'm tying stuff, I do not like to use gloves because I feel like it affects my dexterity. And I just have better control when I do it with my hands, but I just have to be really careful because there's thorns everywhere. And those thorns hurt really bad. So now I can start fanning it out and I can start tying the canes back. However I want. Always making sure not to do it too tightly. And I cut off the excess. That way I don't have a bunch of string dangling around. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I get them into the correct shape. So these roses I planted back when I first started gardening. So maybe at this point it's been like close to 3 years. Because I didn't plant them right away. It did take me a few months, but I planted them in memory of my mom because red roses were always her favorite flower. And whenever they bloom, they just remind me so much of her. And I don't know, it just brings me a lot of joy to see her roses doing so well. The first like 2 years, they grew, but they grew very slowly. The canes were not the best, and that's normal. If you plant a rose, especially a climbing rose, but really any at all, it's gonna take a few years for them to really start getting established, which just means like their roots are gonna get really nice and big. They're gonna start getting adjusted to the spot. And at first they grow really slowly. They push out a few canes here and there. The blooms aren't always like the most beautiful. They're still pretty, but they're not like mind-blowing or anything. And as the rose gets a little bit older, the blooms just start coming out prettier and prettier each year. I remember when I first planted them, I was confused because at Lowe's, I bought these at Lowe's, by the way, for like, I don't know, maybe like $35, somewhere around there, or maybe like $30 for each rose bush. And I bought them at Lowe's, I planted them, and when I first bought them, they had some really beautiful red blooms on them. And then when I brought them home and they kept blooming, the blooms started coming out like a hot pink color, like a fuchsia. And I was like, what the heck happened? I remember them being red. And then as time went by, they started coming out true to color again. So I don't know if it was like the pH of my soil or something, but it did take a while for me to get the correct color. And now the blooms come out, super full. And they come out super like a velvety red color. They're so pretty. I have a couple different rose varieties in the garden. This is one of the ones from Lowe's, but some of the other ones are from David Austin, which is like this really famous rose breeder. And I found out about those types of roses from YouTube, watching other YouTubers. And I feel like these took a while to establish and produce really nice blooms and really nice canes. The other ones have started growing a lot faster. And so I started getting some of the other rose blooms sooner, and the canes also came out a lot healthier right off the bat. So these did take a few years to get to that point. The other ones, it feels like started doing it within the first year. Okay, so here at the top, I can see that a lot of these are tangled up. So I need to wear my gloves for this because otherwise it's gonna be really painful. I'm gonna start trying to untangle them as much as possible. Yeah, I don't know why it scares me. I'm wearing the gloves, but the thorns are no joke. Whew. Okay, there we go. So now, and then it doesn't help that I have other vines right here. Okay, now I can go like this. I have them separated into two, and I can start tying them back. But I think I need to prune some of them still. No, I think they're fine. Okay, now I can take these and I can start tying them up here. Hold on. One thing that I do like about the thicker canes is that even though they have really big thorns, I feel like the thorns, I can see them a lot better than the younger canes. The younger canes have a ton of small thorns on them, and I don't like that because it's way more painful. The only other plant that I can think of that's more painful than roses is blackberries, the thorny blackberries. Ah. Ah. Oh. Okay, hold on. Up here, I think I need to do a little bit more pruning because I'm kind of super tangled up. Okay, let me see. Let's see here. So I have those right there. I have these like this, these like this. How do I want to prune these? I think, oh, I'm gonna have to sacrifice one of these blooms, but I want to keep that guy. I think I actually want to prune this whole portion off. I know, maybe I'll recoup that. And if I do, then I won't do it again next year, but I'm going to try it out for now. Where's the cane that I wanted to keep? Oh, did I chop off the other cane? Where's the cane? Shut up. Oh, come on, bro. No, I chopped off the wrong thing. No. Okay, it's fine. Oh, okay. It's gonna be just fine. Oh, no, it's this one. It just went that way. Oh, I was so scared for a second there. Okay, this one right here. This is the one I want to keep. And I want to trade it to go all the way across. And I see a lot of buds that are going to start pushing out like little arms, but the other one was just a little bit too crazy. And the canes that it already had, I don't think were the ones that I was looking for. So look, I'm going to take this one. Okay. Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm going to tie this one right here. Very carefully. Oh. Oh my goodness. We'll really see how this foundation holds up because I feel like I'm starting to sweat. Not because it's really hot or anything, but because I'm getting nervous pruning these rose bushes. Okay, so now I can tie it all the way over here. Okay, so even though it's gonna look bald for a little bit, all of these canes will eventually start pushing out little arms everywhere, and then all of this should be covered with rose blooms, hopefully, fingers crossed. Within the next few months. Where do I want to tie this one? Right here. You know what? I'm gonna go to Lowe's probably later this week. It's warming up enough, at least after Valentine's Day. I'll go to Lowe's. Maybe even on Valentine's Day. I'll drag my husband along or something. But I want to go to Lowe's soon. I want to pick up a guava tree, and I want to see what else I can find for the garden. I want to look for those containers, that's for sure. When it comes to roses, here's the one thing that I've learned over the last few years is that these happen to do really, really well, but it took a really long time, and I bought them at Lowe's. And for around the same exact price, I could have bought a David Austin rose, which is, it's an online website, and it's from that famous rose breeder, David Austin. And those would have taken a few weeks to come, and they would have come dormant, which means it would have just been the roots, but I would have gotten a lot more blooms a lot more sooner. So I think that's what I'm gonna do moving forward. I'm gonna prune this one right here. It's beautiful, but I want to keep this cane because it's so long and so fresh. And I think I'm gonna, I don't want to put my canes, I have it tied right here, but I'm gonna, oh, actually, I'm just gonna reuse this little garden tie. One of the mistakes that I've made in the past is tying them too close to the edge of my arch trellis, because like I said, because they start pushing out a bunch of little arms, and if I tie it too close to the edge, all of these arms are going to come out right here, and as I'm walking through, we'll get poked quite a bit. So I'm going to bring them in just a little bit, maybe like right here. Tie it right here. Oh, I made this tie a little too long. Oh. And then another way to get a lot more blooms is to trellis them going in a zigzag way, because then they start pushing out a bunch of little arms with blooms like this. But for me, it's just easier to trellis them vertically right now because of the arch trellises, and because they're gonna start growing really, really fast. And as they get to the top right here and they're kind of laid over, there's gonna be blooms just dangling down right here. It's gonna be beautiful. Really, it's gonna be such a striking sight to see. Ugh. Okay, let me scooch this one over here. And then again, I'm just gonna start tying it down. Just being really careful with the thorns. Right here. There we go. Oh, that is so pretty. Let me take a step back. Okay, that is looking so much better already. This one right here, I tied a little bit too close to the edge, so I'm gonna redo it, because I'm gonna appreciate the extra space when they start filling out. And then this one right here looks nice, and it's a thick cane, but I don't know if I really want to keep it. This one right here. Do I want to keep it? Do I want to get rid of it? Maybe if I untie it and move it over. Maybe like right here. Ah! Okay. I just have to be really careful when I do this. So when it comes to the roses, I come and I prune them whenever I feel like it's necessary. Like this cane is eventually gonna go, but for right now, because I just want a fuller look, I'm gonna keep it. Oh, but wait, some of these are starting to cross. Hold on. For right now, I'm gonna keep it, but maybe in a few weeks, if I see that it's crossing too much, I'll come and I'll just prune it out. I just don't want to leave it completely empty, but right now it looks fine. But I can definitely tell that it's an older cane for sure. It's fine. So this one I'm gonna tie it over a little bit. Okie dokie. And also any areas that are dried or dead, I'm gonna prune out. So we don't need those anymore. So when it comes to pruning roses, sometimes I tie them back, I take a step back, I look at them, and then I come back in and keep tying based on what I think looks better. This one's nice, but it's gotta go. You know what, this cane is the one I've been on the fence about, and I'm not going to keep it. I think a part of me really wants to, just because I don't want to see this portion empty, but I know that in a few weeks I'm going to come out here to get rid of it because it just doesn't look like the strongest cane. It's older. It's not in the best shape, and I know that there's going to be some newer ones popping up in no time. Oh my gosh. Ow, be careful because of all the thorns. Look at those. Look how thorny that is. Just be careful with that. And okay, this part of the roses looks a lot better. Very, very empty, but don't worry. It's always really scary to prune at first, but it pays off in the long run. Okay, now for this guy. Gotta get rid of any crossing stuff. Oh, I need my gloves for this. Oh. Hello. No. Oh. Okay. Hello. When it comes to this side of the, I'm just gonna repeat the exact same process on this side. I want to keep the biggest canes, the nicest looking canes, and I'm just gonna cut anything that is crossing because we don't need that in the garden. Okay.